What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode, and guys, we're getting ready for the hard water. Ice season's here. If you guys watched my last video, that was a 2-day trip I took towards the end of last ice season, caught some lake trout. And guys, wait until you see the next video coming out on the channel. That is day 2 of that trip, different lake. And it was freaking insanity. Super, super fun fishing. But something that I've been wanting to do for a long time and watching videos on is DIYing your own Smitty Sled. I don't even know if you can buy a Smitty Sled, honestly. All the videos I've seen is making your own. So picked up some old skis off Facebook Marketplace this week, 10 bucks for the pair. Had to cut off the brackets for the boots and stuff. They're really old pair. I couldn't figure out how to get access to the screws. So I just cut them off with a hacksaw, but sanded it down smooth. And these are gonna work fantastic. With the skis, make sure that you guys get downhill skis and not cross-country skis where they're gonna have friction going backwards. You want these are smooth either direction, and you want them to be a little bit longer than your sled. So these are, I don't even know the length on these, but I'll drop them down below on the screen right now. But these work really good, and I'll link also what size sled this is so you guys know. But went and got some hardware. I'm gonna try to do a removable way so that way it's not bolted on there. So in case I want to remove it, it's super easy. I got some heavy duty rubber strapping or hooks and stuff, bungee cords. And that's why I think I'm going to do it. You'll see it in the video, but enough babbling. Let's get into it, show you my ideas, and let's get building. If you guys didn't know what a Smitty Sled is, all it is taking your general Jet Sled and putting it off the ground and having it run on the, some old skis. So what that does is the surface area of your sled. You don't have this whole 20 to 24 inch wide sled on the ice, getting, having that friction, causing it, if it's snow and it's a pain to drag. What you can do is lift it up 4 to 6 inches off the ground and then put skis on the bottom. They do make running boards for these as well. They're about like a 1/2 inch to 1 inch. You put them all along the bottom, but they only lift it about that far. So if there's more than 1 inch of snow, slush, whatever, it's not gonna help you. So my plan is to lift this 6 inches off the ground using the skis. The reason I'm going so high is because I also use a smaller sled sometimes for extra gear. And if I do 6 inches, putting it in the back of my car, my Outback, it's got a lot of space. But if I put this high enough, I can slide that little sled underneath when I'm loading it up. So that way it just maximizes me fitting stuff in the car. So to lift this 6 inches off the ground, I got this thick, heavy duty treated. I got treated wood just because out in the elements, I want it to last longer. So I got this 2x6, super, super thick, heavy duty. And what you're going to do is cut trapezoids, 4 of them to go through the skis. And then I got these 2 treated boards as well to go across, which mount to the trapezoids that go down the skis. So first things first, let's take the sled out of the picture. We don't need that for a little while. And what we're gonna do is, like I said, get yourself some cheap skis off Facebook Marketplace. I got these for $10, super easy. Don't get cross country, get downhill skis, work fantastic. Take off the boot bindings. Like I said, I had to cut mine off. And yeah, super smooth. Do that, and your next process is gonna be cutting your trapezoids. I'm using a heavy duty treated 2x6. It's probably overkill, but again, I want it to last a really long time. So the next thing you got to figure out is how much of this you want for the angle and all that stuff, how much you want on the skis. And then again, it's coming up onto these cross pieces. So these 2 cross boards are actually 5.5 inches. You probably could have went with a 4-inch board. Again, I'm going a little overkill, beefing it up, just because I do take a lot of stuff in that little sled, and I want to be able to not have to worry about any weight issues in that sled. So you got to remember, these are going to cross, these trapezoids are going to cross. So you're going to want, do you want the full 5 inches? Do you want a little less than that? And then after that, you want to figure out your angle, because it's not a straight down square. So if you want like a 30-degree angle, 60-degree angle, stuff like that. So this board's 4 foot long. I got them, the pre-cut ones they have in the section that way, because I have a hand saw. I don't have a chop saw with me. So 48 inches. So realistically, the longest that the trapezoids on the bottom could be is 12 inches, which we're not going to make that. I'm thinking like probably 7 inches, maybe. So 7 inches would be the bottom, and then the top's going to flatten off at like 5.5. So it's not going to be it's going to be a super sharp angle, but we don't really need them super, super long. Mark them out every 7 inches, and then we'll mark off the top. Now this board's got a little chewed up on this end, so we're gonna start on this end. All right, so just looking at that, I honestly don't like it. It's not really a trapezoid, it's almost a square. So since these boards are 5.5 inches wide, we're gonna do 5 inch on the top of the trapezoid, and then we're going to do 8 inches on the bottom. So it's an 1.5 inch difference, and that's a lot better. That's more of an actual angle. All right, so you can see here, I messed up that because I drew too many lines with pen. I'm just using pen. I don't have a pencil on me, but you're going to see it's a trapezoid, so it angles forward. And all we're going to do is cut off this side right here, and then cut off this at this second line right here, this little line over on this side. And then we're going to do that 4 times, and then we're going to have all our pieces. So let me do that, and we'll come right back once we got all 4 trapezoids cut. Alrighty, y'all, just got done cutting these 4 pieces. All I gotta say, guys, is who's excited for ice season? Drop a comment down below if you're excited. I'm literally about to probably take a trip up north, like northern Maine here, in probably like a week or 2. I don't know when you'll see the video, but like I got the itch. I started watching so many YouTube videos last night and like the past couple days, just getting ready. I'm gonna get all my gear ready. Dude, I am jacked up, but guys, I'm going to be going to New Hampshire and Maine. I'm going to be ice fishing all over. I'm located in Massachusetts. I do kayak guiding, fishing guiding, and ice fishing guiding. So if you guys know anyone in the Massachusetts area, or you're flying into Boston for work and you want to get out on the ice, hit me up. I'll leave the information down below so you can get in contact with me. But I will be running guide trips on the ice this season. Super excited about that. So again, get a chop box. Don't hand saw it. That took way longer than it should have. But we got it done. We got 4 pieces. So next thing up is we need to figure out how or where we want it mounted on these skis. You want majority of the skis off the front. So when you're dragging it, you're lifting from the front of the skis to go up and over anything. So you want that sled pretty much as far back on the back end of these skis as possible. So let's get that and try to figure out exactly where we want these. So now you guys can kind of see how this is going to look. So what it is these get screwed up through the bottom of the skis with the countersink bit. So the head of the screws underneath the skis don't drag on the bottom, anything like that. It's going to go up into the ski, and then it's going to go down in these cross members. I had to get 2 because it was just shy, and I'm going to probably have these hang off just a little bit off each side. Not much, but just because how I'm going to hook these up with these rubber straps. But super easy. You can see the gist of it. And realistically, pretty much, you don't have to do the other system that I'm using with bungees. If you did it like this, where you screwed it into the skis here, and then mounted these boards, and then you bolt it through the bottom of your sled, you're done. You have a Smitty Sled. So we're gonna figure out kind of distance. So what I was saying is you want the sled pretty much to the back of the skis as much as possible, and as much of the front skis up as much as possible. So when you're dragging it, you're lifting it from the front, going up over stuff, and it's super easy. So let's figure out spacing, and then we'll use some masking tape to mark on here where we want it, and then we'll center it up and pre-drill those holes to mount these trapezoids right in place. Alrighty, so we measured out where we want our trapezoids. So all we gotta do is then flip it over. Made sure the tape was long enough. I should have made sure it was long enough on all of them, but that way you can see exactly where those screws need to go up through. And then you're gonna have to measure and make sure you get the middle of the skis. Make sure whatever line that is, take a Sharpie, mark it. That way you get a nice, solid, secure center of the wood that you're going up through. I picked up deck screws. These are 1 5/8 inches. I think anything between 1.5 inches to 2 inches works. But just remember how far up you're going to end up going into that wood. So don't get too close to that edge. You want to make sure you're going up through the heart of that wood so you don't split off. I'm probably going to try to do 3 screws, I'm thinking. And that way I can get a really solid connection between these two. But again, you're going to want to pre-drill everything. So we'll put the trapezoids underneath the skis like this, and then we'll make sure they're all nice and secure, and then start pre-drilling them, measure out where we're gonna do that, and attach these trapezoids to the skis. Let's do it. So let's measure this width of the ski and make sure we're good. And also measure your trapezoid, because you're gonna want, 3 screws in the heart of it. So realistically, what do we make these? 8 inches on the bottom, 7 3/4 to 8 inches, depending on the angle and the cuts that I made. So realistically, you got about 4 inches of good area to put screws. So I'll put 1, 2 inches, 4 inches, and 6 inches, and that puts the center screw dead center at 4 inches, and then 1, 2 inches to both sides of it, or maybe I'll do 1.5 inches off each side. But it does slowly, gradually change. So we'll go with the shortest end, 2.5. So that's 1.25 inches is dead center. Okay. Let's pre-drill these holes. Got our 3 holes pre-drilled. And then we will take the countersink bit. And this way the head of our wood screws aren't sticking underneath the skis. You don't want that. If it goes on rocks, it'll spark and all that stuff. Or it'll just, make your dragging harder. Alright, so we got that end done. Let's flip it over. Do the other end. Alrighty, there we have it. 3 countersinked right there, 3 and 3. So let's attach these trapezoids and screw them into place. Okay, we got 1 screw in. We're gonna make sure we have this thing. We did it from the underside of evening out both sides. So we're gonna make sure we even out via the top side as well. As you can see here, we got all 3 screws in there. I gotta sand off this plastic because it popped up as we were pre-sinking it, but we'll sand that smooth. The heads are buried up in enough of the ski that's not going to drag. These skis are plenty thick, so it still grabbed a bunch, and we got this thing perfectly even, and that's not going anywhere. So super easy, honestly. Just double check your measurements. Now we're going to do it 3 more times. Alrighty, there we have it. Both skis are totally good. So measured up the widthness of these on each side. As I was going, I did 1 screw and then would double check the other end and then did the middle screw, but it came out really good. That one I over screwed in there a little bit, but it's still grabbing some of the ski, and plus I got 2 others. But what I did is after I did that, this plastic or whatever this lining is on the bottom of the skis had some ridging around where I countersunk it. So all you do is you take a razor blade, run it up both directions after you put the screws in, and then you can tell. That's also a way to tell that you're not hitting any screw heads. So I'm good on these. Both sides are done. They're ready to go. I'll probably sand these blocks down, these wood blocks, with my sanding block a little bit. But I mean, they're in there. They're not going anywhere. They are nice and secure. And next up is figuring out the width of these boards going across. Alrighty, so we sanded down these pieces right here. We got it reset back up. So you can see here, all we got to do is drill these in, measure out what width we want, and then if we weren't doing the modification I'm going to do, all you would do was bolt this through, and you'd have a Smitty sled. But what we're going to do is I have some repurposed wood. I'm going to put this board, it's going to get bolted through the sled just like that. So we'll pretty much try to secure this rubber strap down to this wood. This wood will be up in here, and then maybe I'll use the screw eyes off of this wood, and then all I can do is clamp it or hook it on both sides, and it's going to force it down onto this sled. But I can always literally unhook all 4 sides, take this Jet Sled, and use it for anything else. That's going to be my plan. So what I'll probably be doing is making this board here the exact width of the outside here of the lip of the sled, so that way the rubber strap can go tucked up, right up, straight up underneath this lip where that board's going to come out of. I might even make it a tad bit longer, because with this board up in here, it's going to be, I'll probably do the exact width. So what we're going to do is get this measurement across the cross, cut these boards, and then get them secured to our skis. So our measurement right here is going to be pretty much 24 and 5/8. So we're going to do 24 and 5/8, both these boards. Let's get them cut. Alrighty, so got these kind of set up. messing around with them. I'm going to probably put them, I'm looking at 1.25 inches. It's going to stick out both sides of this. The reason that is so it's more on the sled itself, because this sled, like, I built it for the length of the lip, and honestly I should come in more. It's 1 inch and almost 2 inches, almost 2 inches from the outside of that lip until you get to the actual bottom of the sled. So realistically, it doesn't matter, but I prefer the actual weight be underneath the sled. So I'm going to bring this in even more. I think I'll do 3 inches in on each side, so that way the beef of the weight is pushing down not only on the cross members, but the actual skis themselves. So let me adjust this. So what I'm going to do is one side at a time, do one side 3 inches in, and then do the other side 3 inches in, because as I keep moving around, it's going to keep adjusting. But another thing is to remember, we made the top of the trapezoid less than the width of this board, so you're gonna have to come in on each side a little bit. But yeah, then we're going to countersink. We're gonna do 3 screws right across the top, and we'll take these boards off and measure exactly where these holes need to go. And there we go. Let's pre-drill those holes and pre-sink them as well, and then we'll do the same on the other board, and then we'll get back to you when we're screwing this in. Alright, so we got all these holes drilled, pre-sunk, and then we're going to measure exactly where the middle of this needs to be. Just like that. Now we're going to do the front side, and then we'll do both on the opposite side. Biggest thing you want to do is make sure that the skis are the same distance. So I measured it off the table here, because you don't want your skis kind of crooked. So I'm just making sure these are kind of the exact same distance off the back of this table. Alrighty, there we have it. The Jet Sled sitting on top of there. Looks super nice. And what I was saying earlier is I like to bring the little sled. This is like the baby Jet Sled that I had for other gear, but sometimes I'll bring both. But this is the medium-sized Jet Sled. But the goal was to try to fit this underneath in my car. But as you can see, I had to make it too thin. So it's not going to work out for that. But I could still put a bunch of stuff underneath this in my vehicle, chairs, anything like that. Still get enough clearance. I could put buckets on them sides in here. I still have plenty of room on the side in my vehicle, but this is going to be super nice up off the ground. You know, you're looking at off the actual ice. The bottom of the sled is 7-inch clearance. So unless you have more than 7 inches of super soft snow, you're going to be riding up top of it with these skis. It's going to be super nice. So next thing up we're going to do is mount the side, these plates, bolt these on the side up underneath the lip of these Jet Sleds, and that way we can secure this to the skis and have it removable. I've trimmed these to size where they want to be, and then we need to drill holes through these, and that way we can bolt these through the sled. So first things first, I'm going to measure the center of these boards. I'm going to come in a little bit. What are these boards lengthwise? Just 46.25. I don't think I had cut that for a specific reason. I think these were already that size, so it works out. Like I said, I'm going to butt these up right underneath the lip. They don't go out the front. They work perfectly. And then what I'm going to do is measure in, I don't know, maybe like, we'll measure dead center. So just over 23 inches, 23 1/8. And then we'll mark the center of it. And then we'll just come in 5 inches off each end and put the next set of bolts there. Just like that. And then we're going to drill out these holes for the bolts. And then we will clamp this to the sled. And then we will drill through the already holes in this through the sled and then slide the bolts through. Now these aren't treated, these are super light. This treated wood on the bottom makes it a lot heavier than it really needs to be. Like I said, I beefed it up. Hopefully it doesn't get too heavy, that it's a pain dragging it, but it's just a little extra weight. But this is not treated, but this is going to be hugged up underneath. Okay, so we got the boards drilled, pre-drilled, all 3 holes through. I got these clamps. We're going to clamp it up, put one through, probably slide a bolt through, and then do the other 2 right through. You can see right here, these bolts stick out a ton realistically. I think I did like, yeah, 2 inch on everything. Realistically, I could have done probably 1.5 inches, maybe even 1 inch. So I'll end up tightening all these up, and then I'll end up trimming, cutting off some of the threads on these things so that nut gets underneath the lip here so it can't get caught on anything when you're dragging stuff around. But let's flip this around and do the other side. Alright, so we got them all bolted on. Like I said, 2 inches was extra long. Could have went probably 1.5 inches. I'll end up cutting these off. But this bolt, for some reason, I don't know if I tightened the locking nut too tight. It must have got hot enough that it literally locked it on. I can't tighten it anymore or loosen it. Let me know if you've had that happen before with locking nuts. Yeah, I was just cranking the crap out of it, and I think I went too fast. But the rest of them have no issues, so that's going to be annoying. It's going to clang around. So we're going to have to figure out how to solve that issue. I mean, it's on there. But yeah, that's kind of one annoyance. But the next thing we're going to do is the bungee cords. So like I showed before, I'm going to use these. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do is put these into this treated lumber with like a screw and a washer. Maybe 2 screws and 2 washers to hold it in place. And then put some of these screw eyes into the board up here. So that way this always stays attached. I don't have to worry about losing them. They're going to be screwed in this piece of wood. And then whenever I want to use this, all I got to do is reach up and attach to the screw eyes. We'll do 2 screw eyes for each strap. And then, yeah, that's what I think we're going to do. So let's get this sled situated where we want it. And then let's start doing that. All right, so we got the sled 2¼ inches in on all sides. And like I said, we're going to just screw this where we think we want it. We pretty much want it straight up, so a little bit in on each side. Doesn't have to be exact. And we're going to put these screws right through these rubber straps. I guess I can move the sled for now. Just trying to see where I needed the rubber straps. Alrighty, there we have it. 2 screws with some washers in them into these rubber bands. They're heavy duty rubber. Hopefully they last a couple seasons, but it's gonna be super easy. All I gotta do is put in all these screw holes, and then it's gonna take a little bit of force, get them all up in through there, and then this thing should be totally secure, but also able to pull these straps out so that way we can make this thing removable and just use the sled if we want to. Alright, just got done putting the screw eyes in. We got 2 on each one. I mean, this thing is super secure. The last thing we got to do, which I'm going to do tomorrow, it's going to cut right in tomorrow, is attaching the rope from the sled, because you want it actually on the skis now, because you want to be, when you're pulling, lifting the top of the skis. So that's the last thing we got to do. We'll see you tomorrow, finish this thing up, and then we'll see even more modifications. Alrighty, y'all, sorry about last night. It ended up getting dark here in the garage. Projects always take a lot longer when you're filming them than just building them, but let's just go over everything real quick in case the lighting wasn't that good. So we ended up attaching these sidebars right here with the bolts, the through the hole in the sled that we drilled. Like I said, this one, the locking nut, I think I burned on there. I got to see about that because that washer literally making that noise, jiggling around is going to bother me. But we did that. Then we screwed in these rubber straps with 2 screws and a washer. And then we put in these screw eyes into the wood. And then all we do, and right now it's detached. So all you can do is undo all 4 sides. You're ready to go. So we don't have to use it as a Smitty sled, but if we want to, we just slap it on here. Hook on both hooks on all 4 sides. Got them nice and tight so it holds it down really firm. It's not super easy to put the rubber bands on, but we want that way, so that way it's nice and strong and held on there. In the cold, it's probably gonna be even more of a pain, but we probably will only be taking this on and off, not at the ice hole. And there we go. We got all 4 sides on there. You can see this thing is strapped on there. It's not going anywhere. The last thing we got to do is move the pull rope, because normally on a jet sled, I added extra rope. A lot of times the rope that comes with it's super thin. It's not long enough. You're like kicking the back of the sled. So I added this heavy duty rope. I'll have everything linked down below to use. I added a big washer, but we're going to move this from here to the front of the skis. And you do that because when you're pulling the skis, you want to be pulling on the nose to lift it up as you pull, to go over top of stuff, then just pulling it from here. So if you wanted to, you could put a definitely want a washer on the back of this once you go through the ski, which is what I'm going to do. But you could do a little bit of rope with like a carabiner, so you can just attach your rope when you want it to. That's something I probably should do. Let me check if I have any extra rope. And the only reason I should do that is because if I want to use this as a normal sled, I could do a carabiner, a little bit of rope and carabiner here, so I can just trade this off whenever I want to, depending on how I want to use this sled. So let me see if I got any extra rope to do that. Alrighty, so I did find some extra rope that I have. So that's what I'm going to do is I will end up, I don't think I have extra carabiners now, but I'm going to drill this hole, get the little loops mounted on here, and that way all I gotta do is get a carabiner real quick, cheap carabiners, and add that. That's one thing I just thought of now. I probably should get extra washers, so I can have washers up here on this end and washers down here. So get yourself, 4 heavy-duty washers, a good heavy-duty rope, and that way, if you wanna make it so that way you can take your Smitty sled on and off, you don't have to worry about retying a rope. You just tie your original rope into one large knot, and then you can literally just transfer carabiner it from one to the next, and you're good to go. Alrighty, so we're gonna do a little pilot hole through the nose of this ski, and then a 1/2 inch. You want to make sure your rope's plenty long enough. The longer the rope is, the less you're pulling up on it, and you're pulling your sled forward. So it's a lot easier. Alrighty, got that done. So we're just gonna stick our rope through here to make our loops that we're going to do. Stick your washer through. And then we're going to make some loops. However long you want to make them, 6 inches, something like that. And then you'll just put a carabiner to this and then cut this access off. Both these access, you're going to want to burn the tips so they don't fray. And then you'll carabiner right to this and you're good to go. Do that for both sides. Alright guys, there we have it. We got the rope attached with the washer. The washer's honestly not needed. I mean, you double knot this thicker rope, it's never going to come through there. But I got both of them there. Make sure that you measure these out the proper distance, both, so they're even. Or else when you're pulling, it's not going to be even. So I measured out and I added these on top in case, like I said, I'm going to take this rope, add a carabiner, tie it off, just add 2 carabiners to it. And that way I can switch if I want to take this off and just have the sled. I can clip it to these 2 or clip it to these and use the Smitty sled. But you can see here, it also works as some extra storage. Now I can put my seat in here, make some more room in the sled, and literally just like that, we have our own DIY removable Smitty sled. And that way, if we want to use it, we can. If we don't need it, we can take it off. It works both either way. And there we have it, guys, a removable DIY Smitty sled. So that way, if you need it, you can use it. If not, it's fine. You can just use a normal sled. But I'm super excited to try this out. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. And I did mention that I'm going to be doing some more modifications, but we're going to save that for another video. We're going to do some awesome DIY mods to this thing so it can carry a ton of gear, but that way it doesn't take up a ton of room in the back of the vehicle. If you guys don't have a truck like myself, you like the good gas mileage of like an SUV, I'm able to fit quite a bit of stuff in the back of an Outback, so this just makes it easier. But then when I get to the water, I'll have a bunch of DIY mods for this to carry a ton of stuff on the water. So stay tuned for that video. Again, I'll have everything I used linked down below in the description of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't already, subscribe down below. It's almost ice season, guys, 2025, 2026. I might even be on the ice by the time you guys see this video. Who knows? Super excited. I'm getting the itch. I'm watching a lot of videos. I might even make a a super long send up north just to get on some ice early, but we'll see. You guys got to stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, go out there and go catch your next personal best.